My personal journey to becoming a full-time musical director and composer started, I guess, in the 8th grade when I watched my choir teacher play the piano. Her name was Mrs. Silva, and I'll always remember she would play the piano, and for some reason something clicked, and I said, hey, I want to learn how to do that. And in choir, she taught us not only how to sing, but how to read notes. And I would study how to read chords. So I would go home and honestly, I would spend hours on the piano, just learning chords, learning how to read notes, looking for different score books and going through them, and slowly but surely picking up some sense of music theory along the way. Now, when high school was done, I didn't think I had enough music experience to go into studying music, so I became an accountancy major. I took up accountancy because my parents said that's a good profession, and I did enjoy it. And math is, as many of you know, is very much tied to music. I very much enjoyed it. I passed the board, but I remember thinking something wasn't exactly right just yet. And I remember after I graduated, I took a year off to kind of just look around and see what I wanted to do. And that's when I got invited to be an audition pianist for Trumpets. Trumpets theater company was doing The Little Mermaid, and they needed an audition pianist. And through a friend asked, hey, can you play the piano for this? And the rest is history. Like from there, I got more gigs and got asked to play for other things. And that was from 2000 to 2005. I kind of entered the theater scene. And then 2005 came around and Hong Kong Disneyland entered the picture, and for 12 years, that was one incredible learning experience. I always felt that they took a chance on me, someone who wasn't a music major but loved music, and they did. And 12 years, I had a wonderful time, an incredible life-changing experience. And you never know when opportunities like that will come up. So, and then I moved back here in 2017, and luckily the BGC Arts Center gave me a home for workshops over the summer, and other projects, musical projects came in. Sing it like you are singing in the shower. Go! I had been doing workshops at the BGC Arts Center for 2 years, and we were just about to start planning our 3rd year when COVID and the quarantine hit. And I remember thinking about just canceling everything because I wasn't sure, theater workshops which would work online. And it's such an activity where it's best in person, so you can give feedback and get quick reactions and learn from each other because everyone was in the same room. But as everything had started going online, I'd seen that it was working for classes, normal everyday classes for school. So I started doing a little research on how to make it work online, especially through Zoom. And in fact, we had trial classes first to sort of see how we could shape the class and what works and what factors in how lag factors in, and not seeing all your classmates on screen, not beside you, having to vocalize and not vocalize in person because of the lag. You can't vocalize live. All of those things sort of just happened in the trial workshop, and to be honest, it was a learning experience every step of the way. The first workshop, sort of seeing what works and what doesn't work online, and also applying everything that we had learned from that first workshop to the second workshop, which happened a couple months later, and was of course much smoother because we'd done enough research and experience to know what worked and what didn't. And I'm glad that it was successful and people signed up, And in fact, we got a lot of returning students who wanted to do that whole experience again. From the online classes, I would say I really enjoyed seeing the medium work, seeing that theater theater workshops can happen online, and even with the person not in front of you, to see them get it. And no matter where they were, whether or not they were in Singapore or India or just in another time zone, it was great to see them get it, and that they would make each other laugh, or that they could learn from each other even though they weren't in the same space. To see them get it. And then, of course, the best part for me is the recital, because we were so used to doing recitals on stage and in person and filling up the room and getting that excitement. And I feel somehow we were able to do the same thing by opening up the Zoom class for other students, for all the students' friends and parents to come watch. And it allowed them, they were nervous themselves, just waiting for their turn to go up. And we would always have a sort of like a post-class meeting, and you would see how happy they were to be able to perform from their home. And the nerves were real, the excitement was real, the learning was real. And I think that was probably the best part for me, just getting to that recital and seeing them having had a great time the past month and a half, as well as enjoying that culminating activity as much as they would a recital in person.
What if you and I had a dream school? Ano kaya yun? Would it have dinosaurs, like experiments? Little things that become big?
I was incredibly honored and excited to be asked to write the theme song for my school. I'd written theme songs for theme parks and for jingles, but never for an educational program. So this was using what I enjoy about writing jingles, making them catchy and fun. But in this case, being able to write something that kids are going to hear every time they turn the program on, or will remember many years from now. Hopefully it's still in their head. I had written jingles, and it's not quite the same, because jingles are much shorter and off the beat catchier. Educational theme songs like this allow for a little more information and catchier lines. So Maribel Garcia gave me awesome lyrics to sort of play around with, and it was great to sort of take those ideas and make them into a theme song that hopefully people will be singing for a long time to come. My top 3 reasons for taking on the project. Well, number 1, of course, had to be I love everybody at the BGC Arts Center. I always feel welcomed when I'm there. Right from day one, when I spoke to Maribel Garcia about starting workshops there, she was so generous and encouraging, and that energy kind of flows throughout everybody who works at BGC Arts Center. Everybody is just so warm. So of course when they ask me to do something like write a theme song, I'm right there. Number 2, to be able to create I've written jingles for theme parks. To be able to write something for an educational program, I think is incredibly cool. It leaves something that children will get to hear every time they get to watch it, and even creating that intro. If you listen to the intro of the song, I knew it had to be something nice and memorable and something intellectual, like the brain thinking. And to be able to write something like that and think like, okay, what is the sound of the brain thinking? To be able to create music like that is always fun for me. So that would be the second big reason. And the third big reason is I love creating. I love being given an opportunity to write for something that I'd never written before. And I said this was the first time to be able to write for a child's program. And I was happy to take on that opportunity and get to the piano and start writing something. I'm the kind of composer who gets very much inspired by lyrics that I see on a page. I know there are composers who can come up with beautiful melodies out of thin air and that have no lyrics but just gorgeous melodies. I am more of the type who need to look at lyrics and be inspired by the words that I see on the page. And that's exactly what happened here. Maribel Garcia, I was very excited getting into the project already, but Maribel Garcia finally sent me lyrics and I was very eager to go to the piano and tinker around with melodies. And that's kind of how I write. I like to go to the piano, play around with something, sing different types of melodies and play with different styles. And then I'll step away from the piano, go have lunch, do something, and then maybe go back to it later on in the day or the next day. And I'll do that until I find a melody that sticks. For me, if the melody sticks in my head, then hopefully it'll be catchy enough for children to listen to and to get. And there are a lot of things to sort of consider, especially when taking lyrics that are very smart and very cute and very catchy, and making sure that those words come out and are amplified by the music. So in the beginning, I knew that it would have to be something that, hopefully anybody can go over to the piano and play. So you have this very simple C chord, and what if you and I had a dream school? Ano kaya yun? Then I figured, let's get a little jazzy. Would it have dinosaurs, live experiments, little things that become big? I figured little things that then goes up, become big. So that's what I mean by being inspired by the lyrics. So if I see little things that become big, melody-wise, it should rise up too. Little things that become big. And of course you have the chorus, which is the main hook, which should be catchy enough for kids to follow. And that's where again, after a couple of days of sitting at the piano, it's a dream school, nothing. Learning is never boring. It's always an adventure. And then the question, how do we do that? What do we do? So, it's always fun to, again, be inspired by words. How do we do that? What do we do? These are questions. So it will be said in a sort of, how do we do that? What do we do? With the power of science, so that's kind of how I write melodies and coming up with this. And once that the body, the stanzas and the chorus were set, to be honest, the intro came last. And I wanted an intro that sort of sounded like a calculator, or like a brain thinking, or like a computer working. They're old school computers. And I was thinking, okay, what can be used as instrumental for, background music for things? And I kind of came up with this. Which, I figured, hopefully when kids hear this, if they get used to watching the show enough and they just hear this, they'll already, it'll strike a chord and they'll know, okay, it's a Mind is Cool show, So that's kind of the process that goes into writing a song. My favorite part of the song would be the chorus. It's a dream school, nothing. Learning is never boring. It's always an adventure. But how do we do that? What do we do with the power of science, art and imagination? Oh, the wonders you will find in the mind is cool. So if I have a message for anybody watching out there, is go for it. Go for your dreams. Go for what makes you happy. I do understand that in my life, there was something about perfect timing, how Hong Kong Disneyland opened up when it did, how that audition came in when it did. But I also knew that I wouldn't get anywhere if I didn't keep driving myself, to keep on learning, to keep on finding different ways to grow, to taking on projects and figuring it out later. that is kind of the best way to get experience, just going for it and trusting that you have it in you, even if you have to figure out how to learn how to do it. Just go for it. Say yes now and figure it out and do a great job. That would be probably my number one advice. And the second piece of advice I'd give anyone is be someone that you want to work with. Be someone who's friendly, who's eager, who's driven, because that's the kind of people that other people want to hire. That's the people that other people want to work with, and that would be the best thing, sort of guiding force, if you want to sort of make it in the industry. Going for it and being somebody that people will like. I would like to say thank you to the Bonifacio Arts Foundation Incorporated for giving me all the incredible opportunities, giving me a stage and a rehearsal room when I needed one, and continuing these projects online even through the pandemic, for me to be able to share my passion and love for theater, as well as allowing a lot of students to keep on learning, to keep finding ways to grow during this time when especially children can't leave the home and are need some creative outlet. Thank you for allowing me that and giving me that space.